Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Takodana to Helm's Deep and everywhere in between. Kind of a light week for news, but we are here ready to go no matter what. My name is Mike Gibson, and with me as always is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, like you said, Mike, another light week, which we always seem to still end up talking for an hour about random nerd news. So
Yeah. Doesn't mean that we're not going to talk just
Right.
as much as we
it's
normally do.
it's just a matter of whether it's focused or whether it's just broad, and we may get weird
Yeah.
today. So
Exactly. You never really know. Before we dive into the actual nerdy news, we do want to take a second to, mark the passing of a legendary comedian, Norm Macdonald, who passed away at the age of 61 from cancer this past week. Norm Macdonald was a very funny guy, not necessarily associated with many nerdy things, but decided to give him a shout out on this nerdy show based solely on his Fantastic Four sketch. He has an album called Ridiculous. The opening track on that is all about the Fantastic Four, and it is hilarious. Steve, have you ever heard the Fantastic Four Norm Macdonald sketch?
I have, and it's it's perfect. It's one of those
it's
things
perfect.
you don't ever think about, and then he busts it out, and you're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense, and his delivery is
Yeah.
just impeccable.
Yeah, exactly. It's a hilarious observation, basically on how the Fantastic Four characters got their names and why Mr. Fantastic gets to be called Mr. Fantastic and not Mr. Stretchy Guy. And an argument ensuing amongst the four characters as he gives out their names. It's very hilarious for nerds around the world. So check it out if you haven't heard it. It's definitely worth a listen. So rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. You were hilarious, and you will be missed from the world for sure. Moving from some RIP to some actual nerdy news. Starting off with Steve. I think I might have to confess, this might be my favorite Marvel trailer of the Disney Plus shows we've got this week. We got a trailer for Hawkeye this week. Disney Plus show coming out this late November, November 28th, I think it was.
Something like that, yeah. Like right around Thanksgiving time.
Yeah, I could have easily written it on the page that's before me, and I did not.
That
But,
would
so
have made
here
too
we
much
are
sense.
guessing. Professional podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. The trailer for Disney Plus series Hawkeye, starring Jeremy Renner, and I'm blanking on. I could have written down the names of the stars, and I didn't.
Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld. That's what it was. Yeah, I trust my brain.
I kept wanting to say Kate Bishop, but she's yes and no.
Yeah, starring Clint Barton and Kate Bishop. I loved this trailer. It's all about. I did not expect it to take place during Christmas time. I thought that was a great touch. It seems to be all about Hawkeye, Clint Barton Hawkeye, working with, training, bonding with Kate Bishop, soon to be new Hawkeye, assumedly, in an apartment in New York City. Much like the Matt Fraction, the much loved Matt Fraction run on Hawkeye from years ago, that came out just late enough that the MCU couldn't base their version of Clint Barton on that version of Hawkeye,
Yep.
which instantly became everybody's favorite version of Hawkeye, and the MCU missed the boat by just that much. And now this is them trying to go back and correct that in some way or make some adjustments.
And this is to the point where, like, the point where you're mentioning the Fraction Hawkeye, like, in the trailer, we got Tracksuit Bros, we got Pizza Dog, like, it's the Fraction verse basically, which I'm in for. I think everybody is.
Yeah, I know. I think that there were rumors about that the series was going to be based on or inspired by the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run, and that is clear. But me personally, I was like, well, the MCU Hawkeye really is not the Matt Fraction Hawkeye, he's got a family, he's got kids, he's got roots somewhere else. How is he going to be living in an apartment by himself in New York City, let alone with Kate Bishop also being a part of his life? Like, that seems hard to get there, but seems like they got him there. Makes sense that they'd just be on vacation. He's got to stay there for some reason. Like, his family, they didn't kill his family again or something, or, do some kind of weird separating him from his family from tragedy or whatever, which I like that they're keeping that continuity, but also finding a way to give us the Hawkeye that we've wanted for a really long time. And it just looks fun and funny, and Haley Steinfeld looks like she's doing a great job as Kate Bishop. It just looks a lot of fun, and it looks like the fun, lower stakes vibe of the Matt Fraction series, and I'm all in, all day long for this.
I am curious when you're looking at how it all in the trailer, how it all started. She was Ronin. Like,
you're right.
She wasn't Hawkeye. She was Ronin. So to see whether she knows that Barton was Ronin, or whether she just took up the Ronin mantle when Ronin disappeared, or what's going to happen there, that'll be interesting to see when it comes out. That because she saw Barton and was like, "You're Hawkeye."
Yeah.
What's the flip side going to be when she finds out that she was actually emulating him as Ronin as well?
Right. Yeah. Does the world even know that Ronin was Clint Barton? Right. Does anyone outside of Natasha Romanoff, who, spoiler alert, is dead?
Too soon, man.
Does anyone other than her, or maybe, assumedly some of the other Avengers know that.
Yeah.
But does anyone outside of that circle even know that? And I guess if no one else knows that, then it's a wacky coincidence that this big Hawkeye fan happens to dress like Ronin, and take up his mantle and then be discovered by the actual guy. It just seems like a little coincidental. So
yeah,
you're right. I think it's going to be interesting to see why she's doing that and how they make that work. But I trust them to do it. As flimsy as it may be, I think that's going to be something that they get out of the way real quick, because it seems like they're going to want to. It seems like they want to devote a lot of time to the two of them working together, and the seemingly odd couple scenario that will be Clint Barton and Kate Bishop living and working together at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm here for Matt Fraction's Die Hard with bows and arrows.
Yeah. Yep.
Why not?
It's basically what it seems like.
I'll take it.
I will be interested to see what happens to Jeremy Renner at the end of this show. Will he officially retire as Hawkeye? Will he officially pass the mantle to Kate Bishop? I mean, that's what we're kind of expecting. Whether that happens formally or informally, is there a chance that he will die? Probably a very small chance. MCU does not like to kill people, as we know. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Clearly, she's going to go on. I'd be shocked if she didn't sign, contract to go to do more than just this show. It seems like they'd be silly to do that. I know they're not doing large, huge multi-picture deals anymore, but I don't know. You got to think that they want to keep her around for at least a film after this. So that'll be interesting to see.
They got to tie her into Young Avengers.
Hawkeye. Sorry, say what?
They got to tie her into Young Avengers. There's no way, if they're going to go that way, and it seems like there's no way they're not going to go that way, Kate Bishop's a pretty big part of that whole storyline.
Yes. I agree. I think, you and I have been theorizing for a long time that they are heading towards a Young Avengers something, whether it be Disney Plus or a movie, and part of that is knowing that they're introducing Kate Bishop. That's just more evidence of that fact. I think we said last week that I said last week that I believe Young Avengers is going to be a Disney Plus series, at least to start, but I could be wrong about that. My big question is, will we see Yelena, based on the post-credit scene in Black Widow, will we see Yelena show up in this show? Are they going to connect it that quickly? And part of me thinks yes, because I don't know how much longer the MCU is going to have Jeremy Renner. to be honest with you. It seems like they are slowly phasing out the original lineup. 3 of them are gone already, and we have Hawkeye, Thor, and Banner left. Hulk left.
Yep.
Possibly Hulk transitioning to She-Hulk moving forward, depending on how that series goes. We don't know. Possibly Thor transitioning to Jane Foster Thor, maybe. We don't really know.
Give me Beta Ray Bill. Give me Beta Ray Bill in Love and Thunder.
I know, man. I know. I'd be shocked if they. I don't know. It seems like the fans have been vocal about that for such a long time, and Taika kind of. I feel like he's plugged into that. So
yeah,
we'll see what he does with Love and Thunder. But I mean, I can see Chris Hemsworth sticking around. Jeremy Renner, I don't know how much longer he wants to be in the MCU, to be honest with you. Like, he's had a good run for sure. Been underutilized sometimes. Now he's finally getting his own show. That's great. Like, who knows what his contract looked like? Who knows how much longer he's going to be around? If he says goodbye at the end of this, is he killed by Yelena? Seems like he won't be, because then Yelena probably won't be on good terms with Kate Bishop for a Young Avengers thing. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing and talking out loud as I go. Right. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I love this trailer. I watched it several times, and I can't wait to see the show. I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, the whole concept's great. The fact that they're laying into the Fraction run, they seem to be hitting all the notes. The Christmas theme is just an added bonus. Yeah. I think in general it's just going to be a fun series. Which, it's funny, we've gone through, with the MCU series, you've had the weird with WandaVision, you've had the, military, straightforward Falcon and Winter Soldier, you've had, whatever in the hell Loki
time
was.
Time travel, universe jumping, yeah.
Right. And then this just looks to be like a fun, action-filled romp through the city. Yeah. And it's like, okay, they're showing at least some range. It's not like the same show over and over again, at least. Hopefully they can, keep the magic up, and it's not like we're gonna have a stop in content. So
yeah, that's for sure. I do think Pizza Dog is Mephisto, though.
Absolutely.
So anyway, moving on to other shows that I'm excited about. Although this time knowing much less about them. Yes. Found out this week that HBO Max is early development on a Penguin series. Penguin being the Penguin from, Batman. But this would be a spin-off from the upcoming Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson, The Batman film coming out next year. It would be a spin-off, and that means that it would be based on Colin Farrell's interpretation of the Penguin. Now, if you were not aware that Colin Farrell was playing the Penguin, that's understandable, because if you look at the trailer that we've gotten for the Batman so far, there is a shot of Colin Farrell as the Penguin, and it looks nothing like Colin Farrell. There's incredible makeup and prosthetics on that guy. He just looks like, he doesn't even really look too penguin-y. Certainly not Danny DeVito level penguin-y, but he looks like he does look like hunky, beautiful Colin Farrell. Right. He looks older. He looks a little chunkier. He looks a little less put together, clearly. It's a real quick shot. And Colin Farrell has said that he's only in a few scenes of the movie. He's not a big part of the movie. I guess it's more focused on Riddler, which is great, because that version of the Riddler seems terrifying. But it's possible, I guess he's in negotiations to appear as the Penguin in this spin-off series, which is rumored to focus on his rise to power as a crime boss in Gotham City. It's going to be written by Lauren LaFranc, who wrote on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., among some other shows. And this is the second spin-off from that movie in development. So I feel like Warner Brothers must really like what they're seeing with the film, The Batman, if they've already greenlit 2 direct spin-offs, the other one being a police procedural series focused on fighting corrupt cops in Gotham City, the Gotham City Police Department, GCPD. We don't have a title or anything for that yet. We do have a showrunner. And they also have Peacemaker, which is a direct spin-off from James Gunn's Suicide Squad, that incredible movie that I can't wait till it comes back on HBO Max so I can watch it 12 more times. um, in a week. But this is really interesting. Steve, what do you think about a Penguin series, a Colin Farrell Penguin series set on HBO Max?
Right. We've talked a couple of times before about how both of us are of that age where Danny DeVito is the Penguin, and there is no like, I don't know. There's something about that interpretation that still sticks with me no matter what else we see. That said, from the snippets we saw, Farrell is, I don't know. It's gonna be a different interpretation. They seem, like you said, to like it enough to green light it, so it's got to be solid in some semblance or some way, shape, or form. I'm LaFranc. The only thing that she's done that I know of is Agents of Shield, that I recognize her, like she was credited on the first 3 seasons as a producer. So the first 3 seasons were where they were trying to tie Agents of Shield into the rest of the MCU continuity, and before it kind of hit its stride, like literally right after that was kind of when they cut it loose from like trying to weave into all the rest of the crap, and just said, you know what, you're doing your thing. And then you had like the whole Reyes plot, you had everything else going on that was like where the meat and potatoes of Agents of Shield was. So the question is whether she was handcuffed at the time by needing to try and fit continuity and try and do that whole thing, or whether we should wonder where this is going to go. So I'm hoping the latter, and we should be good.
Yeah. I mean,
hoping the
definitely is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you're right. It's definitely going to be a different interpretation, which is like the magic of comics in general, right?
Yeah.
Like, a Batman is different from the next Batman, whether it's Ben Affleck or Michael Keaton or Christian Bale, or Robert Pattinson. They're all wildly different. Like the Tim Burton movies took place in clearly like almost like a fairy tale kind, like a dark, grim fairy tale kind of environment.
In a Tim Burton environment.
Yeah, exactly. I read a great quote about Tim Burton. I wish I could remember who said it. It was somebody on Twitter. Said the first half of Tim Burton's career was him making movies that shouldn't have worked but did, and the second half of his career is making movies that should work but don't.
That is dead perfect.
Yeah. It's dead perfect, right? I was like, yes, accurate. But anyway, yeah, Danny DeVito's Penguin was perfect for that style and that world. But you also have, similar to the seemingly plot of this show, the Penguin on Gotham, that TV show, also kind of showed Penguin's rise from grunt to crime boss. Obviously, the tone of that show was radically different than Tim Burton, radically different than what we're expecting the Batman to be. This seems more like, I don't know, man. I almost said like gritty and realistic, but that's kind of like what the Nolan, Christopher Nolan's Batman universe was. This seems like a mix of gritty but also comic booky at the same time, which makes me one of the reasons I'm really excited for it, because it seems like, it's a gritty, kind of realistic looking world, but I also believe that somebody like Mr. Freeze could exist in this, and that's just me based on a 2-minute trailer that I saw a year ago. I don't know, but I'm excited about it. So it'd be interesting to see the difference. I think the Penguin can be a really interesting character if he's dealt with in a more realistic way. That's the other thing too, like the Tim Burton, Danny DeVito Penguin, has the trick umbrellas and has can communicate with actual penguins and stuff, which is like, cartoony, albeit in a dark way.
Right. It takes that camp up to like a 12. Like we're beyond Spinal Tap. We're like way out there.
Yeah, it's a weird camp mixed with despair and darkness at the same time, which is a very odd mix.
It's a Tim Burton. It's literally Tim Burton.
Yeah. But to do a more realistic version of him as a just like a crime boss that has the nickname Penguin, and make it like a mob kind of series, and him working his way up through that in a less cartoony way than Gotham was. I mean, the guy that Robin Lord Taylor, I think was his name, that played Penguin, I thought he did a good job, and that was a cool interpretation of that character. Certainly one unlike we'd ever seen before. But I don't know. I'm excited to have a character like the Penguin treated like a threat and not like a joke. as much, and someone that has really can pull the strings within Gotham City in a way that we haven't really seen before. So I'm very excited about that. If that's, I don't know, I hope it goes. And, again, this is another, even we have 2 spinoffs from the Batman, 1 spinoff from Suicide Squad. We also have a number of other direct to HBO Max series and movies in development. Who knows if these will all kind of tie in or whatever. I guess we don't know what continuity the Batman is taking place in. I think it's not on the same Earth as the Justice League or the other DCU,
right.
But still, who knows? We're about to talk about a way that those could be all connected in some way, shape, or form someday, and that is through The Flash, which we know is a multiverse movie. The director, Andy Muschietti, over the last few months has been dropping little teases on his Instagram page, and all these teases have been shots of the chest emblems of characters. We got one of the new Flash suit. We got one of Michael Keaton's Batman chest with a little splatter of blood on it that was super interesting. We got one of Sasha Calle's Supergirl symbol. So exciting. Today, mere hours ago, ladies and gentlemen, we got a shot of what looks like a Michael Keaton Batman chest plate or chest emblem with the bat signal, but it has been spray painted to look like the Flash. It's been spray painted red with a yellow lightning bolt down the center.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what to say about it besides it looks super cool. But Steve, what could this possibly mean?
Well, that's a really good question, because if you're looking at the Keatonverse, there's really no precedent there. If it's just, I guess it could be a couple things. It could just be them throwing out that, hey, we're going to visit the 1989 suit. And
sure.
Yeah, they've tweeted that before, but it's like, okay, here's confirmation that Ezra Miller will interact with Michael Keaton. Sure, yeah. That's one thing. Wasn't there at some point a weird multiversal merging of Flash and Batman at some point?
The 2 characters? Yeah, I think there was in a recent Scott Snyder wrote, I think it was in Death Metal or Heavy Metal, one of the really crazy multiverse weirdness things that he was doing, which is kind of too much for me. But yeah, I think there was called Red Death. It was a Flash version of Batman. That was basically a plot of this Scott Snyder run on Batman. It's scouring the multiverse for all these different versions of Batman, and some of which are evil. And since the multiverse is infinite, there's you can always find an evil Batman and Superman hybrid, and Wonder Woman, Green Lantern Batman hybrid, and the Flash Batman was called Red Death.
So I could totally see,
but
I could totally see getting a snippet of Miller showing up there and being like, "Nah, just bailing."
Right, yeah.
That's a little too much. We're going back this way.
Right. Or it's something where he loses his costume and has to steal Michael Keaton's batsuit, to be the Flash or something. It could just be something like that. Either way, it's just, for me, it's just more. Whoa, you okay?
Yep.
You're good. Scooting away. Okay. You got a mouse or something?
No.
All right.
No, I'm just checking. My mic was doing some weird things on the board, so
okay,
we're good.
Again, this is a multiverse movie. And literally anything could happen. We don't know how long he's going to spend in the 1989 Tim Burton Batman universe. We don't know how long he's going to spend in modern times. We know at least there's 2 Batman in this movie. We know that Ben Affleck is going to reprise his role, and we know that Michael Keaton is going to be in it. Who knows how many more? Is there a chance that Christian Bale's in this movie? Is there a chance that George Clooney is in this movie? That would be crazy. Is there a chance that John Wesley Shipp from the Flash TV show from the 90s is in this series? I mean, he's on the CW show. I think we've talked before where I'm pretty sure that Grant Gustin's Flash is going to be in this movie. I think that scene from Crisis on Infinite Earths when Ezra Miller interacted with him, where I think we're going to see that from a different angle. So there's just so many possibilities. When you're making a multiverse movie,
yep.
And it's kind of different from the Spider-Man one, because from the trailer of the Spider-Man No Way Home, which we know deals with multiverses, from that trailer, it is Doctor Strange casting a spell which something goes wrong, and it seems like people from other universes are coming into our universe. That's what it seems like from that trailer. Now, that trailer could be edited in a way that just makes us think that, but based on that, it seems like, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is staying on Earth 1 or whatever, and other Earth 616 please. Or whatever. Yeah, but sorry. Jesus. And then like Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin, they're coming to him. That's what it seems like. I could be wrong. But with this, Flash is the one that is moving through multiverses. It's not like a spell that is affecting his universe. He's leaving our Earth and going to other ones, so he is the one that's moving through them. He could literally go anywhere. We don't know where he's going to go, what he's going to pass through to get there, and where he's going to end up when he comes back, and what things are going to be different when he comes back. So literally anything could happen, I guess, is my point in saying all that. And we don't know how many other universes we're even going to see in this movie. And it will be interesting. I keep saying I think Andy Muschietti is a great director, and I trust him. And this project has been in development for so long that I feel like they must finally have something that works for the fact that it's actually moving forward and actually being filmed and is off the ground and is going to happen finally. So, yeah. I don't know. Do you agree, disagree with anything I just said? I talked for a long time because you were looking for a mouse.
I was trying to find. Well, to be fair, on the other podcast I record, mid-recording, I had to literally drop because there was a bat flying around my basement a couple months ago.
Whoa!
So I was like literally midstream, and I looked over, and I'm like, "There's a bat there." Okay, and I just kind of dropped my headset and walked away. Texted the guys. I was like, "Hey."
You looked over and said, "I shall become a bat," and you've begun your descendant.
Yeah, I started my training, and
vigilantism. Yeah.
Yeah. Next week is the appointment with Ra's al Ghul. It's fine.
I spent I was in the car for a little bit today, and I spent a long time trying to calculate how old Bruce Wayne is. Which is hard to do because he's whatever age he is, he's been that age since 1939.
Right.
And I was trying to gauge it by estimating. This is like a real digression, it has nothing to do with anything. But I spent a long time thinking about it. I was like, okay, so how old is he when his parents get killed? How old is he when he goes away for training? How old is he when he becomes Batman? How long is he Batman before he adopts Dick Grayson? How old is Dick Grayson? How long is Dick Grayson Robin? How long a period is it between Dick Grayson leaving and him adopting Jason? How long is Jason Robin before he gets killed? How long is it between, kind of going down the road of basically using the Robins as goalposts to kind of figure it out? Because I feel like a lot of people read Batman and assume that he's like 30 tops. But I think if you do the math, he's in his late 40s, easy. I being generous, he's in his late 40s. He's got to be.
I think that Titans version with Ian Glenn is probably more accurate than we know.
Dude, 100%. 100%. I know he gets a lot of flack for being old, but if you really think about it, especially in the comic, even in that show, it seems like there's only been 2 Robins so far. In the comic books, there's been 4 to 5. So
plus other ancillaries,
all those Robins got to have time to be there. They're not just there for a day and then they move on. So especially Dick Grayson must have been Robin for years. Jason, it's debatable because he got killed. But then how long was Bruce coping with his death before he decided to take Tim on as the new, there's a lot to think about. But being generous, Bruce Wayne easily in his late 40s, I think.
Oh yeah.
Possibly even early 50s. Anyway, we're talking about The Flash. It's going to be great. I'm excited about it. That's my recap. Do you have anything else to say about The Flash?
Nothing about The Flash, but we can shift gears to someone else that is going to be in their 50s in a show we're going to talk about.
Going to a galaxy far, far away, talking about some Star Wars, talking about some Obi-Wan. Steve, you just brought this to my attention right before we started going on this show. This was not on the rundown. There's an actor in the Obi-Wan show called Sung Kang, and he was talking about his role in Obi-Wan this week. And he said something I thought, to be very interesting. We don't know the name of his character, correct, Steve?
Right. Yep. We don't know anything about it outside of what's about to come down.
Yeah, and I guess he said that it is a new character. He's not playing someone that we already know or anything like that, or based on anything we already know. But he said this. He said, I used to dress up in the cheap Kmart plastic Halloween costumes of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader almost every single day from 8 to 13 years old. My friends and I would play pretend. We'd make our own lightsabers out of, toilet paper centers and stuff like that. To be able to be on set and see Darth Vader and see the Star Wars universe in front of me, just as a fan, to be able to be a part of that history is pretty amazing. I kept pinching myself going, how did I end up here? And my character has a lightsaber, and it's not a toy, it's actually the real thing.
Yeah.
End quote.
So he, whether or not he realized it, dropped a couple of nuggets in there. And,
a couple of bombs right there.
So the first being, his character has a lightsaber. I'm going to bury the lead on the other part, but so his character has a lightsaber. It's not known whether he was a Jedi, whether he is a Jedi, where any of it is, because Obi-Wan was confirmed to be, I think, set 10 years after the Purge. So,
I believe so.
Somewhere in that time frame, you're looking, are we still finding new remnants of the Order? What's going on in the grand scheme of things with the Jedi? What's Obi-Wan even doing? Like, we don't even know that, whether this is going to be him hanging out in his hut in Tatooine, or whether he's out and about in the galaxy, or what. So it's all up in the air, but him having a lightsaber is pretty important, I'd say.
I would say that as well. Do you think that there's a chance that he is a Jedi that escaped the initial Order 66 and is being hunted down by Darth Vader to be killed because he escaped the initial purge?
It could be. You know what I just in my brain came up with too was, what if, like, we're assuming he's a good guy. What if he's an Inquisitor?
Yeah, he could be an Inquisitor. You're right. For people that maybe don't know, because they only watch Star Wars movies, there are positions in the Empire or in the Sith. Are they Sith? Are Inquisitors technically Sith?
It's complicated. Yes,
it's complicated because there's a rule of two where there's only an apprentice and a master, but of course there's all these Inquisitors that are basically super powerful, force-using, white lightsaber wielding Sith characters. So that rule of two is pretty flexible.
It's fast and loose. You kind of mess with it.
Yeah. So Inquisitors are basically, underlings of Vader or the Emperor or whatever, lower level force wielding bad guys. You can see they're in Clone Wars. I think they're in Clone Wars. They're in Rebels.
Rebels is where they're introduced.
They're in Rebels, yeah.
Yeah, because season 1 was Grand Inquisitor, and then after that, the others. Right. And then also, if you've played Jedi Fallen Order, the Inquisitors have a huge part in that.
Yep, they're in Fallen Order. But yeah, he could be an Inquisitor, especially if he's on set with Darth Vader.
Right.
He could either be working with Vader or about to get killed by Darth Vader. But the fact that he's on set with Darth Vader, I mean, this is what Hayden Christensen is doing, right? Hayden Christensen, we know, has come back to play Anakin Skywalker and Vader, right? We know that.
It's been well, I don't know if it's confirmed, but it's basically confirmed. Which is, it's got me all excited because I feel like he never got a fair shake with the words that were given to him to read off of a script. So maybe we can see what he can actually do.
Not in 3 movies.
So.
But like, I think we've talked about this before in talking about Obi-Wan, and this is the question that everybody has. Like, he's coming back to be Darth Vader. Is he just gonna be in the suit the whole time? Are we gonna see him without his mask on? And if so, how's he gonna sound? Like,
right.
The Darth Vader's voice is one of the most illogical things in the Star Wars universe, because when he's Anakin Skywalker, he has an American accent, and, just like a normal whiny white boy voice like mine. And when he's Darth Vader, he's got James Earl Jones's really deep, low voice, still American accent. But then, in the end of Return of the Jedi, when Luke takes his helmet off, he's got a inexplicably British accent. and certainly not James Earl Jones's voice. So like, is this going to be another variation of that? Are we going to see him with half the helmet off, and he's going to sound like Hayden Christensen without a British accent? And then like, why does he have a British accent?
Yeah, like where did Sebastian Shaw's accent come in all of this? But
it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Why didn't you cast a British person to play Anakin Skywalker? I don't know why you didn't do that.
The helmet has Google Translate in it, and it's fine.
He's dying. His brain is firing on all, the Emperor's electricity's changed his brain to English accent. Please just tell me if that's what it is. Just tell me,
right?
So I can have an in-canon explanation for that, because it makes zero sense, Lucas.
It's like that phenomenon where some people literally just start talking with a random accent.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can excuse it with.
Yeah,
is that in his dying moments, his brain thought he was British.
That is now my head.
His brain thought back on the wonderful times he spent with his master Obi-Wan Kenobi and decided to emulate his voice. Oh God, I just don't know how they're gonna do that. Like, I would love there to be flashbacks, I guess, but to him being actually Anakin and actually showing. Part of the things that bugged me about the prequels is that I feel like Anakin and Obi-Wan are always talking about things that would have been cooler to see than the movie that we're watching at the same time. They're like, well, I saved you back on Quagadadugada 4 or whatever planet. It's like, yeah, but I saved you on Badabadibadu. And it's like, well, show us that. I want to see that movie.
Right.
Not trade negotiations or whatever the hell.
Yep.
Anyway, always go down a rabbit hole talking about Star Wars. But this is cool. I'm excited to see who this guy is playing, why he has a lightsaber. I guess I am thinking that there's going to be some hunting down of remaining Jedi, I think is going to be part of the plot. I don't know if I heard that or if I just think it. But it would be cool if this was somebody like Obi-Wan. Because unless everything takes place on Tatooine, there's got to be a reason for Obi-Wan to leave, because he's tasked with protecting Luke, right?
Yep.
So he's there to watch over him as he grows up. Which we did see in a very emotional scene in Rebels.
That one hit.
Oh, it so did. Oh man,
that whole episode was just.
Yeah, just you see the little silhouette of the little boy. I was like, oh my god, that's Luke. Oh my god. So something important would have to take him off of Tatooine, and I feel like maybe one of those important things is. There's this Jedi, he's in trouble, he needs your help to escape Darth Vader, go get him, and that would lead to Obi-Wan and Darth Vader having another confrontation, which would make sense because Obi-Wan doesn't see Darth Vader in the movies. He leaves him on the side of a volcano to die, so... Does Obi-Wan even know that Anakin is Darth Vader?
Yes.
How?
What was the quote from the original?
Now
I am the master.
Which says, when last we met, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Right.
Which wouldn't make sense. But in Revenge of the Obi-Wan does not see the costumed mechanical Darth Vader in Revenge of the Sith. But in A New Hope, he tells Luke he's more machine now than man. So he has seen him since
at some point. Yeah.
So he's seen him since. So I think we are going to see the meeting of those two since then. And one of my favorite parts of Rebels happened early on in Rebels, where it's clear that Ahsoka does not know that Darth Vader is Anakin at first. And they're like flying fighters or whatever, and she senses him. And then she realizing that he is Anakin Skywalker is powerful. And I feel like we might get the same thing, although it's been 10 years. If you say it's really been 10 years, it seems like that would be a long time for him not to know that.
Yeah.
Dude, is Ahsoka going to be in this show? I just realized that. There's no reason that she can't be in this.
No, and
she probably should be. You'd think he would check in with her, or she would check in with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they didn't know each other.
Yeah, they clearly knew each other.
Spent a little bit of time together.
But hey, Obi-Wan has certainly lied about knowing and not knowing things.
True. Very true.
Quite a bit. Most of the time we've spent, I can't say that because of the prequels, but pretty much, I'd say 50 to 60% of the time we see Obi-Wan in the original trilogy, he is lying his ass off to Luke or omitting some very important information by choice.
Yeah, certain points of view are a thing. So
I would also like this show to explain why he decides to lie his ass off to Luke instead of being like, well, it's not my droid, but it was your father's droid. Your father, being Anakin Skywalker, who is now Darth Vader, come with me and I'll tell you all about it.
Right.
Could have said that right out of the gate. No, he just goes, can't seem to remember ever owning a droid. Total lie. You own tons of droids. We saw it. You own tons of droids, and your best friend owned that one, and he saved your life a million times. You're an asshole for
and
not.
And he built the other one that you're with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would like a translation of R2's beeps in that scene, being like, "Can't remember owning droids." Like, are you kidding me? I saved your life a million times, Ben.
You're the only reason I'm here. Or I'm the only reason you're here. Come on.
Yeah, I came to get you, idiot. Don't you remember me? It's only been like 20 years.
God.
You don't forget everyone you've ever worked with in 20 years? Come on.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So.
Anyway, we talked about that for way longer than I thought, but hey, it's Star Wars. That's what happens. So we're moving out of Star Wars, moving into comics, and we're going to start with another Kickstarter Callout. We didn't do one last week, but this is a Kickstarter that is currently available to be pledged to, and it is for a super cool looking book called Savage Wizard. It's a campaign being run by a guy named Leslie Julian, who I follow on Twitter, who's a very avid supporter of independent comic book creators, as well as independent comic books in general. He retweets and supports a lot of other creators when they have their projects going. This is his first Kickstarter for his own project, I believe. And again, it's called Savage Wizard. Savage Wizard is a brutal action comedy set in an unforgiving land known as Karkia, or Karkea. I don't know. The 28-page story chronicles the cost of change, empathy, and repeatedly stabbing your enemies. I'm in.
Sold.
If that didn't already sell me, it goes on to say, there's only one thing that barbarian chief Renar lives for, the battlefield. When Renar finds himself ousted from his clan by his best friend Scom, his life spirals out of control, so he teams up with the wizard Akora to help him save the world. This is a very awesome looking book. You should check it out. If you search for Savage Wizard on Kickstarter, you'll be able to see it. The art is tremendous. It seems to be all black and white, but very brutal, very detailed, very intense drawings. Just super cool. It's clearly for fans of like sword and sandals kind of stuff, Conan the Barbarian, Red Sonja, that kind of stuff. Right up your alley. It just looks so good. I haven't pledged this, but I plan to. I probably will shortly after we're done recording this episode because it looks so cool. So go out there and support Savage Wizard if you're fans of sword and sandal fantasy or brutal sword duels and giant, buff shirtless dudes fighting giant monsters with swords. Looks pretty amazing. So
from the art, that's about what I get. There's a bunch of orcs that look to probably be dying soon.
Yeah, hordes of creepy orcs and enemies and big monsters bleeding, and I don't know. It's great.
The art really is. I like the look of this.
Yeah, it really is stunning work, and I didn't write down the name of the artist, and I am terrible for omitting that. I should have.
Brian Flint.
If you're looking at it, what's that?
Brian Flint.
Huge shout out to Brian Flint for some incredible work on this book. And good luck, Leslie Julian, with his campaign. I hope you are funded because this book is one that clearly deserves to be made. So go out there and support Savage Wizard on Kickstarter. Everybody. Moving into some other announcements, we got a couple announcements from DC this week. They announced their December slate. A couple that there's like 4 or 5 books they announced for December. And they all looked really cool to me, but my 2 favorites that I'm very excited about. One that I heard a rumor about months ago, and clearly that rumor was true. It is a series called Batgirls, plural, Batgirls, by Becky Cloonan, with art by Michael Conrad. This is an ongoing series. It's not just a miniseries. It's going to be a new ongoing series featuring Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown teaming up under the guidance of the original Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, in like an Oracle, seemingly in an Oracle role. It's described as a pizza slumber party of a series packed with energy, attitude, and friendship. This just sounds like so up my alley, up the alley of any fan of the Bat family. If you're one of the millions and tens of millions of people that have been reading the webtoon Wayne Family Adventures series, this seems like it's going to be kind of more of that. Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown both have served as Batgirl. Cassandra Cain has really only been Batgirl, I believe. No, that's not true. But is a very popular character in general. Definitely a very popular version of Batgirl. Stephanie Brown, short-lived time as Batgirl, but also a very popular character as well. And obviously Barbara Gordon, everybody loves her as Batgirl. Everyone loves her as Oracle. Everyone loves her, period. So the 3 of them teaming up is just candy for any fan of the Bat family. Can't wait for that. Also, we got an announcement of a book called, new book from Jeff Lemire of Sweet Tooth fame, Swamp Thing, Green Hell. Jeff Lemire's take on Swamp Thing with art by Doug Mankey, who is tremendous. There's going to be a 3-issue miniseries for DC's Black Label, taking place in the last days of humanity when the long-dead spirit of Alec Holland, as Swamp Thing, is returned to his role as Swamp Thing to help the Earth be wiped clean and begin again. That sounds pretty crazy, pretty dark, pretty out there, but you know, that's the kind of a character Swamp Thing is, and he lends himself to a lot of different interpretations and styles, and something like this that seems like, you know, it seems like it's going to have a lot of thoughts on what humanity is and whether it deserves to stick around or not. That's the kind of thing that I am always down for when it comes to Swamp Thing. So
you've got Jeff Lemire doing weird post-apocalyptic things that okay, cool. Did the last one okay. Might as well keep it up.
Yeah, keep it up, man. Jeff Lemire is, I don't know, he's a great writer. We also got a cool announcement from an upcoming book from DC, the ongoing Tom Taylor and Bruno Renato Nightwing series, which, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, it's just really an incredible series. It's probably the best run on Nightwing I've ever read. The best interpretation of that character. A lot of Bat family stuff, a lot of interactions with Barbara and Tim. Just really everything you want from a Nightwing series. Nightwing 87 will be one continuous image, no panels. Every page of that book will be a continuation of the image on the page before, if that makes sense. This is going to be, and this is something that, you know, comic books have done in general for a long time. Not this specifically, but where they'll show you one image and they'll be, you know, like ghost images is what they're called. Like you can tell there's like a faded image of Spider-Man on the roof way far away, and then you can see him flipping and he's bouncing off this building and he's bouncing off this flagpole, and then there's a full color, full brightness image of him out front. So it's kind of like you see him he started over here and he bounced over here, but it's all taking place in one image. And this is something that they've done on this Nightwing run a number of times, either on covers or like in the book itself, bouncing around rooftops. This is going to be that for an entire book. I don't know how you write that. I don't know how you draw that. That's going to be crazy. That's like an achievement, I feel like. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's going to be, it'll be interesting all around, and I got a hunch you'll see, while there may not be panels, you'll see the use of the environment to break it up, and, like you were mentioning, pieces of buildings or whatnot to, like, focus frame from X to Y on the page, and they're going to get creative with it, and it should be really unique and really fun to discern, if nothing else.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun read, I think, no matter what. And yeah, I'm just interested to see, is it going to be like one of our friends, Matt Posada, last night mentioned that it reminded him. I was telling him about it, and he said it reminded him of like a side scroller video game or something. And I was like, yeah, it's probably what it's going to be. But I'll be interested to see if there's ways, like if he just gets closer to the page for like close up shots, or like does the camera like zoom in at any point, quote unquote camera, does it zoom in so it can follow him inside a building or whatever? Like, how are they going to do that? Or is he literally just going to be outside going down a city block or something? Like, I don't know. That's super cool, and just shows the inventiveness of this team and the cool stuff that they're doing on this Nightwing run right now. Also got a cool announcement from Marvel Comics this week. Marvel announced 5 new titles under the banner of Wastelanders.
Yeah,
so taking place in the famous and the well-known Old Man Logan timeline or universe. Old Man Logan, a very well-known story from Mark Miller years ago. These new books will focus on Wolverine, so kind of a continuation of the Old Man Logan storyline, Hawkeye, Star-Lord, Black Widow, and Doctor Doom. And all these books are called Wastelanders: Wolverine, Wastelanders: Hawkeye, and so on and so forth.
So apparently the Wolverine book will take place literally the day after the end of it'll start the day after the end of the Old Man Logan series.
Wow, interesting.
And then the rest of them all kind of will fall into place through the timeline. So the whole Wastelanders thing, if you haven't checked it out either, they had the podcast title, the Marvel podcast, Wastelanders, Star-Lord
one,
which was a great listen. If you haven't listened to it, it was basically Quill and Rocket and their shenanigans in a post-apocalyptic in this Wastelanders setting, and what happened after the rest of the Guardians aren't there anymore, and what the two of them are doing, and how they're taking down or attempting to take down Victor Von Doom, who is the ruler of all this. So
do you think it's going to be the same story or a similar story? Is there a connection to the podcast? Did the podcast
I got a hunch
spin off into the series?
Yeah, I got a hunch the Star-Lord comic will probably take place right after the podcast ends.
Okay.
And pick up where that left off, and similarly, you've got Hawkeye, Widow. They weren't mentioned at all in the podcast, but apparently they're still around, and Doom is the ruler of everything at that point. So, safe to say that he's going to have some involvement in the Doctor Doom issue.
Sure. Yeah, I can't help but imagine that there would be crossover between these 5 series at some point. I am a terrible nerd for never having read Old Man Logan.
Oof.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. I don't, and wonderfully for me, I don't know anything about it. So I can still read it and, get the whole experience. Didn't they also do an Old Man Hawkeye? I think
they did an Old Man
and
Hawkeye
and
an Old Man
Star-Lord
Quill
too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're all kind of in this setting. Old Man Logan, you would have got some, just by watching Logan, you would have got some high level thoughts of what happens and how things are going. As you can imagine, not great for anyone.
Right.
But that'd be a good one to go back and read. Miller did a bang up job on that. And set the stage for one of my favorite comic movies of all time. So that also helps.
Yeah. Did the podcast, because I have downloaded the podcast, but I haven't listened to it. Did the podcast did it mention the events of Old Man Star-Lord at all, or did it take place after that? Did you read Old Man Star-Lord?
I never read Old Man Quill, so I don't know how that fit in.
Old Man Quill, yeah, okay.
And I don't know if in the comic or anything they tied it in with Logan or Hawkeye or any of that. So I don't remember the Guardians being tied into the Old Man Logan book, which was probably before this iteration of the Guardians was a popular thing.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
Because that was always when they announced the Guardians, it was like, okay, that's the modern run of it anyway. Like the movie, it was like, okay, that's the modern team versus.
Yeah, when they announced Guardians, no one had
Yeah.
heard of them in a long time. So the fact I can't imagine that they would have been in a book as popular as Old Man Logan. Otherwise,
Right.
people would have been like, "Oh, it's them from that really popular run that I just read." You know.
Right, you know those guys. Yeah,
Exactly.
so Old Man Logan, Volume 1 was Miller, Volume 2 was Bendis, Volume 3 through 5 were
Oh,
Lemire, Jeff Lemire.
I I guess I didn't realize there were that many volumes of it. I thought it was just like kind of like a one volume graphic novel kind of thing. I didn't realize it was
No,
that
usually people,
large.
it's one of those where like the Miller run is the trade people initially think of. But
Okay.
yeah, it kept on going. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, that'll be exciting to see what those are like when they come out, and if they do have any crossover with the podcast. Would be interesting to see if they started doing, Marvel's all about interconnected universes. Like, do they connect the podcast to the comics?
Yep.
Still like narrative storytelling, just in a different audio versus visual medium. Could be possible. Could be complicated, but could be cool. This week, coming out in comics, we got a big week for a lot of cool books. We got Batman 113, Catwoman 35, The Death of Doctor Strange #1. This big Marvel event is beginning with the death of Doctor Strange. Going to see what happens to him. Nightwing 84, the much lauded book we were just talking about. Issue 84 comes out this week. He Who Fights with Monsters was a cool book that I read about this week. Wanted to put it on here. Shout it out. Looks pretty awesome.
Art on that is Werther Dell'Edera, who did Something's Killing the Children.
Yes. Yeah. Wait. He might not be the artist. He might be writing it.
It looked like his in the standard on the cover. His name was second, so I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I must have misread the article that I was reading about it because it made me think that he was writing it. But clearly not. Yeah, He Who Fights with Monsters. I don't know. Just looks dope. Got Star Wars Adventures: Ghosts of Vader's Castle #1, kind of an anthology book telling mini stories within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, those are just fun. Those are always very fun.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick that one up for sure.
Any of the IDW ones, they're just fun.
Yeah. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow #4, a beautiful book from Tom King, continues its run. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin #4. This is a book that Steve and I were talking about right before the pod started. Both of us regret that we did not jump in on this book at #1 because we just hear great things about it, and every cover of every issue I've seen looks super cool.
Yep.
An image book called Vinyl #4. I read the first couple issues of this, and it was weird and dark and crazy and awesome. And check it out. It's called Vinyl. It's not about records. At least the ones that I read weren't. It was about weird, violent murder. We also got X-Men #3 and X-Men Onslaught Revelation #1. Steve, any of these jumping out? I mean, we talked a little bit about a couple of them, but anything jumping out? Is there anything that you are excited to pick up this week that's maybe not on this list or on this list, or anything that you're reading currently that you want to shout out?
No, I think X-Men 3 was the big one that was on my pull on that list. Death of Doctor Strange, I think I'm probably going to grab too. I have to send my weekly email over to them saying, hey, give me this, don't give me that, whatever.
Yep.
Onslaught Revelation, I'm still... I think I mentioned it to you before, but I don't know why they're doing this, but whatever. People will still buy it, so...
People will buy it.
And yeah, Last Ronin I'm definitely waiting for trade on, because that's the concept is just great. If anyone doesn't understand, The Last Ronin is Mikey, and his brothers have all died, and he's the only turtle left, and this is his story. So it's one of those where it's like, actually similar to what we were talking about with the Wastelanders, where it's like everything has changed from what you knew, and here's this kind of new take on an old story.
Yeah.
And
is it Michelangelo? I thought it was Raphael.
They make it look in the art like Raphael, but I had pulled up like the
wow, okay.
Yeah,
That's even more interesting.
So yeah,
Wow, yeah, because I was just looking at covers. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know
the
anything about it
covers-
besides the covers I saw, and the covers make it look like it's Raphael.
I
But-
thought it was Raph until I looked at this on the rundown. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to check that out. And I pulled it up, and they were like, Michelangelo is the last of the turtles. I'm like, okay, that's a lot
Wow,
different
damn.
and even more intriguing to me.
Yeah, jeez.
So yeah.
All right. Well, cool. That's your comics. Let us know what you're reading, what we should talk about, what we should give a shout out to this week, next week. I got to say, I just finally was able to read my copy of Batman 89.
Yep.
And so good. It really feels like they're doing a cool continuation of the Tim Burton Batman universe, and I just love being able to read. I'm reading the characters, and I instantly hear their voices in my head. Like I hear, there it is right there. I instantly hear Michael Keaton speaking the words as I'm reading it, or Billy D. Williams speaking as Harvey Dent. I don't know. I love it. I'm really excited that they're doing the Billy D. Williams character as Harvey Dent, or Harvey Dent's turn into Two-Face, seemingly what they're starting with. So
another shout
definitely
out
pumped for that.
if you're not reading it, Nice House on the Lake by Tinian. Nailed it.
Really? I haven't read it. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, through the one issue that I've read.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know how that goes.
I do know how it goes. I'll probably pick up the trade of that because I have heard great things about it, but I think I missed the first issue, and then I was like, well, too late. Not going to jump on right now. But, all right, let's wrap this thing up with some one-shots. These are some things we wanted to mention. We'll probably talk about them a little bit, but I'm going to go rapid fire through them, and then we'll talk about them at the end before we say goodbye. So, first off, for the one-shots, Ethan Hawke will voice Batman in an upcoming kids series called Bat Wheels on HBO Max. I'm definitely going to mention more about that in a minute.
Amazon is developing a live-action She-Ra series. Apparently, it's not connected to any previous continuity, including the Kevin Smith stuff. So
yeah, yep. Marvel's Hit Monkey will debut this November on Hulu. This is one of 4 shows that were announced years ago, but only one of 2 shows that ended up not getting canceled as an animated series that will debut on Hulu in November.
And the other would have been MODOK.
Correct, yes.
So, Sabretooth is apparently getting his own comic series in January. Thank you, solicitations. Big spoiler on that one, because he's not around right now, seeing he got swallowed by Krakoa. So I feel like it's probably a safe assumption that he's coming back in Inferno, and he's getting his own book in January. And the lettering on it looked like the Hickman verse, so it's in this continuity. It's not just some wide out, like, we're going to do a one-off Sabretooth story or something like that. So it ties in with the rest of the X-Men verse.
All right, and our last one-shot for this episode, Bryce Dallas Howard will direct a reboot of Flight of the Navigator for Disney Plus. And man, Steve, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, this is very much in line with my feelings on the Rocketeer that we talked about last week. Flight of the Navigator hit me at a time when it was like one of the first big effects movies that I ever remember seeing. Mm-hmm. It's one of the first like big movies I remember seeing multiple times. I just remember loving everything about it. It's a little kid gets abducted by a alien spacecraft or something and ends up in the future and has to somehow get back home. But it's like a kid by himself with a robot voiced by Paul Rubens. Sounds like Pee Wee Herman.
Yep.
Which I love. And so just a little kid by himself flying a spaceship through time. And that is dope for a 10-year-old boy or 10-year-old girl or whoever watching it. And I'm excited for a Disney Plus reboot of this. Bryce Dallas Howard has clearly proven herself as a director, doing multiple episodes of The Mandalorian. She's also doing a Book of Boba Fett episode. She's a very great director, daughter of great director Ron Howard, of course. So I think she's a great pick for a reboot of Flight of the Navigator, rumored to star a female kid instead of a little boy. And I'm pumped. Are you a Flight of the Navigator fan, or were you when you were 10?
I can say with full confidence, I never saw it.
Oh, man, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what?
Well,
I don't know that I would tell you to watch it now.
We've been over this, though. Like, in that era, I grew up in the middle of the sticks, and like our cable was a total of 20 channels, and one of them was a deer, like literally just a picture of a deer. So a lot of the seminal like movies and like the MTV that shaped us all and all that, I ended up running into a little later than most. So
how often would you just watch the deer channel?
Strangely, okay. So strangely enough, when
Was
you
it
have
okay?
Nerf
I have a follow-up
guns,
question. I have a follow-up question before you answer, so you can
okay.
just talk about it all at the same time. Was it just the same picture of a deer, 24 hours, 7 days a week?
So
They
it
didn't
was
alternate for different deer pictures. It was
nope,
just
no
one
different deer
picture of
pictures.
the same deer all the time.
100%.
Okay, now tell me about it, please.
So it was also the local access channel. So every once in a while, it would flash from that to like some old school classic text of, you know, the Four Sport Diner will be open this day at this time. It's like, okay, cool.
Okay.
And then it'd go back to the deer.
So when there was no announcements, it would be a picture of a deer until there was an announcement about the community. Okay.
And as you can imagine, there wasn't a ton going on in Forestport, New York. Therefore, we got a lot of deer.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's great.
So needless to say, I didn't have the Disney Channel in that lineup.
I don't know if Flight of the Navigator is on Disney Plus right now. If it's not, it should be. I don't know that I would recommend you watching it for the first time now, because in my brain, I haven't seen it since I was probably 10, really. I think I probably watched it a bunch when I was 10 and then completely left it behind. It's one of those movies where I feel like if you went back now, you'd be like, wow, this is real bad. But at the time, it was great, and it was something unlike I'd ever seen before.
Nice.
I remember thinking the ship just looked amazing, and I liked the idea of having a cool disembodied robot friend that sounded like Pee Wee Herman. I don't know, great.
Oh yeah.
So I'm pumped for this. What other of these one shots are you excited about, or do you want to talk about, Steve?
Well, I know we had been talking about how they need to dump a lot more like kid-specific shows into things. And Bat Wheels seems like a title that will totally do that.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, this was announced a few months ago, or maybe close to a year ago, actually. Bat Wheels is a show that is focused on Batman's vehicles. Apparently semi-anthropomorphic, able to speak to each other, like the Batmobile, the Batwing, they're a Bat Cycle, Robin's Redbird car, and inexplicably a Bat monster truck, teaming up to solve adventures, to go on adventures, solve crimes, assumedly, against, I guess I don't know, are there villain vehicles in this show? I don't know. But up until this announcement, I didn't even realize that Batman was going to be in this show at all. I thought it was going to be just the cars, just the vehicles talking to each other. Apparently, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl will all appear in this show. Batman being voiced by Ethan Hawke, who I would say like 2 to 3 years ago gave a statement about how he thought comic book movies were stupid, or didn't think they were real movies or something, and now all of a sudden he's the villain in Moon Knight and he's voicing Batman in a kids animated series. So I don't know what you're talking about there, Mr. Hawk. But as somebody who is a parent of a 4-year-old boy who likes superheroes, but I wish loved superheroes more, and is really just cares about trucks and cars and things like that, and that's the only thing he ever wants to watch, I am pumped for this, because this is a perfect Venn diagram and hopefully gateway for him to be more into superheroes. Not that he's not into them, but you know, if he had a choice, he's just going to watch a show about trucks and cars. So there you go. Oh, nice. Yeah, Spider-Man party.
That was so today at my 37th birthday party was Spider-Man themed, unintentionally.
Yours,
so,
not
mine.
Your son's.
No,
because your son just had a birthday also.
My son had a birthday on
your
Thursday.
Party was Spider-Man themed.
Yes. So, long story short, my mother had bought the Spider-Man stuff. We ended up doing a Lego thing for his birthday. So, my birthday's on Tuesday. We had dinner over there to celebrate Sebastian and my birthday we had a Spider-Man party. So my 37th
Spider-Man party.
birthday was Spider-Man themed.
Well, that's amazing. And yes, your birthday is Tuesday, so feel free to, if you're listening or watching to this, send us an email to shout out Steve for his birthday coming up on Tuesday. And speaking of Spider-Man, I meant to say this earlier in the intro, we did not coordinate our attire tonight. We both happen to be wearing Spider-Man referenced shirts. That was complete accident.
Oh, we sat down and it was literally the Spider-Man meme of like,
yeah,
both of them pointing
at each other. Yeah, we were literally pointing at each other. So yeah, Bat Wheels, Ethan Hawke, Batman in a kids show about the Batmobile leading a team of vehicles to solve crimes. I am totally down for that. Watching that with my son, I can't wait. Steve, do you have any familiarity with Hitmonkey?
Nope.
Me either.
Cool.
Sounds cool though. A Hitman monkey. What were the other? Yeah, so it was MODOK, it was Hitmonkey, it was Kevin Smith's Howard the Duck.
Yep.
And I was like, Tigra and Dazzler. Wasn't that? It was going to be like...
Oh, yeah. It was something along... yeah.
And that would have been the first Disney-owned thing with an X-Man in it, Dazzler. But that and apparently... I don't know. How do you cancel a Kevin Smith helmed Howard the Duck series? That's the perfect pairing. How do you do that? I don't understand. But they did. I honestly, I thought MODOK was the only one that survived that. I did not, until this announcement this week, I didn't realize that Hitmonkey was still happening. But I don't know anything about it, but so. I'm down for watching a show about a monkey hitman. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
How it goes.
What more do you need?
And boy, Amazon is really digging their heels into fantasy, right?
Yeah. They're all
like Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, and now She-Ra. Like they're really trying to capitalize on the lack of sword and sandal stuff that's out there. I guess Wheel of Time is more than that too, but it's got a little bit of that based on the trailer that I saw. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't been into the resurgence of He-Man content lately, but I guess I'll have to see how this goes. There was a Netflix She-Ra series that was very popular, from what I heard, and I think a lot of fans were let down that wasn't going to continue. But yeah, interesting, and it doesn't seem like it's going to have any connection to He-Man, really. I think it's going to kind of be its own thing, but it would be interesting if this led to some kind of crossover or led to a live-action He-Man thing. I guess who knows if they're going to do that.
Like, the only thing I can think of with a live-action He-Man or She-Ra is when you start thinking about the villains and the ridiculousness of some of them could turn into like Power Rangers level of camp.
Yeah, there'd have to be some retooling, I think, of some characters to make it work. Yeah,
but looks like we made it work for a whole nother week.
Looks like we did, Steve. That was a great segue to the ending. That is definitely all I have. Unless you have anything else, I'm good to wrap up.
Yeah, no, I'd say if you guys are still watching on Twitch, down below you can follow us. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications when I upload a new video. Check your podcatcher of choice. We're on just about all of them now. If you want to leave a review, it really helps us in the search algorithms. Want to get a hold of us, Twitter at MultiverseRPT, email themultiversereport@gmail.com. Check out themultiversereport.com. All that's listed there. Facebook, all Instagram, any of the happy fun social spaces we're hanging out there. So
yeah, check us out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Shout out to our friend Adam Karki, who says he listens to every single episode. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for being here. We appreciate everybody who listens to or watches every episode. And until next time, we'll see you around the multiverse.